What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm on Toxic Gaming, and today I'm actually going to be bringing you the second place Toxic Legacy 2 tournament deck profile. This was brought to us by Lucas Gaylords. He is a close friend of mine. One of the biggest reasons why I started Yugi tubing was because him and I were having a couple conversations. He was like, "Yeah, you should do it," and so I started. But yeah, this is the second place deck. It's Rat Stall, Rat Control. I want to say it's more so Rat Control. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. But yeah, it's a rat control deck. It's just meant to sit here, control the board, and just continuously float into something that can help you control the board. Trap cards are also there to help you control everything you need to do. The skill that he's using is Energizing Elements. This is a new skill that came out in the GX box. It's actually very, very good. It just reads, you can declare fire, water, earth, or wind. And this turn, monsters with the declared attribute gain 500 attack and lose 400 defense. Also, any battle damage they inflict is halved. If you control no monsters with the declared attribute, flip this card over. So it's a cool card. It's very strong in my opinion. So it just kind of turns your little guys into like beat sticks, and it's really cool. And yeah, so by little guys I mean your giant rat. Giant rat played at 3 in this format, and with this skill, or in this deck, and with this skill it turns it into a 1900 beater that can just beat over any problematic monster that you really needed to. And then it can also float into another earth monster, which you can then use the skill for again later to create another 1900 beater to climb. So this is really good against like breakers with counters, volcanic, rockets, Gaia, charging Gaias. Like, this is a good card to help climb that, because then it just floats into another card with the skill, I guess. And yeah, that's really, really cool. And so our giant rat targets are really good in this deck. So we got Zombina, and Zombina's a really good giant rat target for the simple fact that when she's destroyed by battle, or destroyed in general, yes, destroyed in general, she can actually float back the giant rat from your graveyard to have the giant rat float into one of your other targets. So it's really good in a stall sense to always have your monster on board. You always have a monster presence, and that's really, really good in this deck. The next Earth target we have is actually Exploder Dragon. This is our last Earth target, but new GX box card, very, very strong. Like I said, Giant Rat can float into Exploder Dragon. Not only can Giant Rat float into the Exploder Dragon, but so can Zombina. Zombina can get this Exploder Dragon from the graveyard after it's destroyed. And that's really powerful because, like, Exploder Dragon can be both a defensive and an offensive card, because no matter what, you don't take any damage from the battles involving it. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, destroy all monsters that destroyed it, and neither player takes battle damage from attacks involving this attacking card. So I guess it's this attacking card, so it's not like, you know, so it just creates a thing where during your opponent's turn, if they're attacking Exploder Dragon, you can take damage, but will still destroy a monster on the field. But Exploder Dragon during your turn will attack the opponent, and then you won't take any damage from attacking the opponent. So it's a very good when it comes to being aggressive too. But yeah, that's it for the Earth monsters of this deck. Another monster that's really, really good in this deck is DD Warrior Lady. This is a 3 of, and probably going to be a 3 of staple. And most decks, this is a meta-defining card coming out of the GX box. It's very, very strong. Everybody is going to be playing this card. The Secret Rare is going to be insane when it comes out in the box. It is just a very powerful and very good monster card that we don't really have like this. Like, yeah, we have Exploder Dragon, which now removes monsters, but this is completely different. This banishes. Like, yeah, you take the damage, but it will banish the monster completely from the game. And that's just kind of crazy in this format, because it's going to completely clear the board, and you'll see in the showcase, like, this card's presence in the game is very detrimental. But yeah, and then we played the one of Midoriya. This is our dark target. Probably should have went over this before. DD Warrior Lady. It's another Exploder Dragon, just not as good because it doesn't get floated into by the giant rat. But the other thing is you get to choose the monster on the field to destroy with it whenever it's destroyed. We played Triple Haunted Shrine in this deck. The reason why Lucas played it at 3 is just so he can continuously get back to Zombinas, and the Zombinas can continuously float into these powerful cards that are in our graveyard, like DD Warrior Ladies, Exploder Dragons, Giant Rat, and Midoriya. This card pretty much turns your entire deck on. Being able to reborn the Zombina and Zombina going into all of these is very, very strong. Continues to stall and control the game from there. It's just very good. And you get to use this card twice. Like, as long as you don't control any monsters, you get to use this card 2 times. Once while it's on the field, and you can banish it from the graveyard to use it again. Like, it is so good. Next on our list is probably the best card to talk about is Zone of Spirit. You know, this card, again, it wins games. It's a meta-defining card. If you want to play it at 3 in your list, I would not deny you playing that, because this card is so good. It just summons a monster with its 1800 attack, and then you can battle. If it gets destroyed by battle, the monster that destroyed it, attack points get inflicted to your opponent as life points damage. And with 1800 attack, that's a lot of damage. So it's a really good card to be playing in this deck. Arguably the best card in speed duels at the moment. Floodgate Trap Hole is also played a 2 in this deck. The reason why is just, you want to stop the Cyber Angels right now, and this is one of the perfect cards to as a main deck stop for that deck. And it's not a bad card to have in your main deck in general. Like, this card is actually very, very powerful in the deck, so there is no reason not to play the Floodgate Trap Hole. Nightmare Wheel is also played at 2, and it stops your opponents from attacking, and stops your opponents from switching battle damage, and it does burn damage, so it pairs really well with the Zone of the Spirit, and again, helps you with your pretty much stall part of this deck. And again, you're still controlling the field because they can't change your battle position or attack. You pretty much have them stuck in place. And so that makes it a very, very powerful card. And then last on our list is a MVP, in my opinion, of the Toxic Legacy 2 tournament. We saw a lot of this card, and we're probably going to see even more of it as the tournament evolves, or the format evolves. Wall of Disruption. This card is a very powerful battle trap from Duel Links. It's very, very good. It shrinks all of your opponent's monsters permanently. So they will all attack position monsters your opponent controls when your opponent declares an attack lose 800 attack for each monster they control. So if they have 3 monsters, they're losing 2400 attack points permanently and staying in attack mode. This can be very detrimental to the game. Or not to the game, but to the player attacking if they're not being careful. If they don't respect the Wall of Disruption, then this card is, insane. Side deck is cool, Lost Winds, because we're in a fusion format, kinda. Like, fusion decks are still kinda scary. Special summon monsters are very scary. Mind Crush, again, this card is crazy in this format because of reinforcements of the army, pitching this from your hand, because of Ritual Ceremony, pitching the Ritual Spell from hand. Like, this card is really, really good. Next is Nightmare Wheel. We're playing this as a third copy down here in case we need it. And then lastly is Waking the Dragon. This card is also very, very strong because whenever it's destroyed, you can target one spell trap, or, yeah, that's the wrong card. Whenever this card is destroyed, you can special summon one fusion monster or monster from your deck to the field. So the monster from your deck is the one that people really look over. But now with the format being what it is, you can actually search your DD Warrior Ladies with this if it gets destroyed. And that's not a bad thing. But most people are just like, no, give me the boss monster, which the boss monsters are all of these. We know what Arcana Knight does. We know what Thousand Eyes Restrict does, but we don't know what these new guys do. Cyberblader, pretty much, while it's on the field, if your opponent has 1 monster, it can't be destroyed by battle. If your opponent has 2 monsters on the field, its attack is doubled. If your opponent has 3 monsters on the field, their monster spell and trap effects are negated. Cyber End Dragon says if it attacks a defense monster, it does piercing damage. It has 4,000 attack points, so that's insane. Destiny Ender Goon, probably arguably the new main choice, I feel like. One of the main choices. This card revives itself every turn as long as you can banish a Destiny hero, but in this deck you're not going to be able to do that. And then once per turn you target opponent's monster and then destroy it, and then your opponent will take damage equal to the monster you destroyed, and it's a good way to get over DD Warrior Ladies if they Waking you. Ojama King is also very strong if they mind Cosmic Cyclone into your back row, hitting the Waking the Dragon without any monsters on the field. You summon Ojama King in defense mode, they can't continue to play the game. It's very, very good. Again, thanks Lucas for sending me in this deck list. Thank you for sending me in the replay that you wanted me to use. And yeah, without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. Alright, so this is going to be Lucas versus Mr. Potato. I know he had a different name than this during the tournament, but I can't remember what it was. So, yeah, let's just go through real quick. And then, yeah. So, we have Showboth on. And it looks like he's playing against Moss. So, it's going to be Man-Eater Bug, Mind Crush, Book of Moon, and Parasite. Wall of D, Nightmare Wheel, Giant Rat, and Haunted Shrine. We're looking in a very good situation over here with Lucas. He sets the Man-Eater Bug, sets the Mind Crush, and sets the Book of Moon. Passes turn off to Lucas. Lucas goes ahead and he sets the Giant Rat face down, setting the Nightmare Wheel face down, the Wall of Disruption face down, and the Haunted Shrine face down. Because more than likely he's going to float into the Zombina now. Drawing into the perfectly ultimate Great Moss is not great for his opponent, but it doesn't matter too much. Man-Eater Bug is going to activate and pop the Giant Rat, attack Lucas directly for 450 life points, and then pass the turn back off to Lucas. Lucas draws into DD Warrior Lady, sets it face down, Again, the opponent draws into another Parasite. Not looking too terrible, but he has the Book of Moon here to flip the Man-Eater Bug back face down, but uses the Parasite here to equip to the Man-Eater Bug. That way, when it does get flipped, the Parasite will get destroyed and a perfectly ultimate great moss gets to come out. So, Man-Eater Bug is flipped, Parasite goes to graveyard. Nightmare Wheel gets activated on the summon of the perfectly ultimate great moss after Parasite triggers, and then targets the Man-Eater Bug. This will make it to where the Man-Eater can't flip. And then what happens is that the Moss player attacks into the defense monster. So using the Nightmare Wheel here to stop the Man-Eater Bug prevented it from flipping itself back face up to destroy this by card effect, and then officially banishing the opponent's Moss from the field. Drawing into the Haunted Shrine here, the opponent has to pass turn, but during the opponent's during Mr. Potato's standby phase, he takes 500. Drawing into the Breaker though, which is very good. Summoning the Breaker, and then I assume using the Breaker to pop the Nightmare Wheel. Yeah, it looks like it. So he pops the Nightmare Wheel and attacks directly for 1600 life points. Lucas uses Wall of Disruption, making Breaker the Magical Warrior 0 attack points because there's 2 monsters on the field, and so this attack will become 0. The player passes turn, and Lucas draws into Exploder Dragon. Sets the card face down and keeps Exploder Dragon in hand. Opponent draws into the Perfectly Ultimate Great Moss. Those are both Moss in hand, so he can't use Cocoon to summon out any big monsters. Switching the Breaker the Magical Warrior to defense mode, and Lucas draws into the Floodgate Trap Hole, setting it face down. The Moss player draws into Zoma, and sets it face down and passes turn back off to Lucas, who draws into the Nightmare Wheel. The opponent summons the Zoma to the field in defense mode, and then draws for turn, drawing into the DD Warrior Lady, switching Zoma to attack position and inflicting 1800 damage. But Lucas goes ahead and activates his own Zoma the Spirit, summoning it to the field in defense mode. So Mr. Potato is left here to think, well, do I have to crash over this to deal 1800 damage myself, or then get rid of the Zoma, or do I keep the Zoma on the field and keep my life points? So and he decides to do that. He decides to attack into the Zoma, lose the 1800, and yeah, which is a good thing in my opinion. Drawing into the Rat here is not a bad play. Goes ahead and sets the Exploder Dragon face down with another Nightmare Wheel. Opponent draws into a Man-Eater Bug, uses the Nightmare Wheel again on the Man-Eater Bug, that way it cannot be destroyed. Using the Cocoon here, it's going to shuffle the Parasite Paranoid into the deck and then draw a card. Drawing into the other DD Warrior Lady. Too many monsters, not enough spell and traps. Battling the Zoma into the Exploder Dragon. Exploder Dragon will kill the Zoma, and then Lucas will draw for turn again, drawing into Zombina. Using the Nightmare Wheel here, Mr. Potato will sit here and think, and then say it's all good. He didn't really have anything to stop that. Setting the Zombina face down, and passing turn back off to the opponent, who draws into the Zoma the Spirit. Summoning the DD Warrior Lady, it gets Floodgate Trap Hold, and then passing turn back off to Lucas. Again, losing the 500, putting him at 700 life points, setting the Giant Rat face down, and then passing turn. Opponent draws right into the Breaker, passes turn, Mind Crush, trying to hit the Nightmare Wheel that's not in hand. And then setting the Wall of D face down and setting the Giant Rat face down. At this point, losing another 500 for the opponent, and Lucas is up on him on card amount. Don't know why the dice is rolled. Oh, one random. Gotcha. Randomly discarding the Moss, drawing into the book, and then, Mr. Potato decides to evade defeat there. So very, very good. Was able to stall the opponent out, burn the opponent out, and that was very strong on Lucas's side. We saw him able to control the field a little bit there. The deck is very strong with doing both of those things. So we saw it working in this moment. Lucas draws his 4 cards for turn, sets the Newdoria, sets the Nightmare Wheel, and then sets the Floodgate Trap Hole face down. The opponent draws into the DD Warrior Lady, sets the Man-Eater Bug, sets the Book of Moon, and then passes turn off to the opponent. Nightmare Wheel is activated again, stopping the Man-Eater Bug from being flipped face up, setting the Exploder Dragon, and then passing turn off to the opponent. Opponent summons the Breaker the Magical Warrior, but it gets floodgated, but the opponent, Mr. Potato, flips the Breaker face down. Setting the Book of Moon face down again, and then passing turn back off to Lucas. Lucas draws for turn into the DD Warrior Lady. The opponent, Mr. Potato, takes 500 life points, flipping the Newdoria face up, and then setting the Zombina face down. entering into battle to hit over the Breaker the Magical Warrior, and then the opponent draws into the Perfectly Ultimate Grey Moth. Summoning the DD Warrior Lady, going into battle, and then attacking the face-down Exploder Dragon. Exploder Dragon will be banished with the DD Warrior Lady, effectively doing exactly what he was going to do in the first place, wasting the monster away. So that was a good play for Lucas in general. Drawing into the Zombina, but sets the DD Warrior Lady face down and turns the Newdoria to defense mode. Opponent draws into the Zone of the Spirit, uses the Parasite on the Newdoria, parasites it away, and then summons the Perfectly Ultimate Grey Moth. Using the second part of the skill, he returns it to the deck, shuffles the deck, and draws one new card, setting the Book of Moon face down. Battle phase goes in, and I guess he just ends turn. He doesn't want to battle, doesn't want to hit into the Zombina or the DD Warrior Lady, so he just passes turn. Loses the 500 life points. Lucas sets the Mind Crush face down, and then the turn is passed on to Mr. Potato, who draws into Cosmic Cyclone. Using the Cosmic Cyclone here, he's going to pay the 1,000, banish the Nightmare Wheel from the game, switch the Man-Eater Bug to attack mode, successfully hitting the Zombina, but Zombina's effect will still activate, bringing out the Newdoria. Opponent sets the face-down Zone of the Spirit, and then passes turn. Lucas draws into the DD Warrior Lady, uses skill and calls fire, but that's about it. And then sets the DD Warrior Lady face down. Opponent draws into the Breaker the Magical Warrior, uses its effect here to pop the face down Mind Crush, and then uses the Book of Moon to flip the Man-Eater Bug face down. Man-Eater Bug's effect activates, successfully popping the DD Warrior Lady. The Breaker attacks into the DD Warrior Lady, which banishes, or it doesn't even banish it. They 16 to 16 defense, so I guess that mattered here. Using the Zombina face down, setting the Haunted Shrine, switching the DD Warrior Lady to attack mode, and then attacking into the Man-Eater Bug, wasting the opponent's Book of Moon to set it face down, and then popping off the DD Warrior Lady whenever it gets flipped face up. Oh, it's actually just going to get rid of Zombina here. So Zombina is going to get sent to the graveyard due to the DD Warrior Lady. And then he's going to actually summon the other DD Warrior Lady from the graveyard. Opponent draws into the Parasite Paranoid, switches the Breaker to defense mode, and then the opponent is going to attack with the Perfectly Ultimate Grey Moth, making Lucas take 2,000 life points and banishing both monsters. Opponent draws for turn. Lucas draws for turn, drawing into the Wall of Disruption, setting it face down. And the opponent draws into another Cosmic Cyclone. With only 1,000 life points left, that's not really the best draw for you right now. Summoning, or putting the Breaker into attack position, and then attacking into, or passing turn actually. Setting the Floodgate, and then passing turn back off to Mr. Potato, who draws into another Cosmic Cyclone. 2 dead draws in a row. Unfortunate. Drawing into the Nightmare Wheel. Passing turn, opponent draws into the Man-Eater Bug, sets the Cosmic face down. Battles the Breaker into the Newdoria. Whenever it happens, Newdoria will destroy the Breaker, but it looks like the opponent's thinking to use the Parasite. Yep, Parasite's going to be used here on the Breaker. And, yep, that works. Newdoria is going to pop the Breaker, sending the Parasite to graveyard for the Parasite to bring out the Perfectly Ultimate Grey Moth from hand. Passing turn off to the opponent, Lucas draws into the Giant Rat. Ending turn there because he doesn't want to deck himself out in the process, and the opponent summons the Zone of the Spirit. Mr. Potato is thinking for turn, setting the Zoma face down, and setting the Man-Eater Bug face down, which is a good play for him. Drawing into the Nightmare Wheel again, opponent draws into the Parasite Paranoid, flips the Man-Eater Bug, destroys the DD Crow, attacks the Perfectly Ultimate Grey Moth into the Giant Rat, but it gets Wall of Disruption for a total of 2,400 attack points, dropping it down all the way to 1,100. Opponent will take 350 life points there, and Lucas will draw into the DD Warrior Lady, setting it face down, and also setting the Haunted Shrine, calling water for the Bastion skill, just cheesing it out, and then passing the turn off to the opponent. Zoma will attack into the Giant Rat, but Nightmare will stop the Zoma. And then that is Lucas's game. There's nothing the opponent can do at that point. But yeah, if you guys like this type of content, we're having another tournament in the next 2 months, so you guys should join it. It's free to play. It's $100 cash payout to the top 4. So first place gets $50. Highly recommend it. So keep a lookout on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy Discord. Keep a lookout for anything I mentioned on my Facebook page. But above all else, I want you all to have a great day. I'll see you guys next time. And yeah, bye-bye.